I would like to call this morning's regular county council meeting, April 24, 2025, open at 9:30. We'd like to call it to order at 9:30. And we will start with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge Athabasca County is located on First Nations Treaty 6 and Treaty 8 traditional territory. We respect and honor all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples' connection to these lands, their history, language, and culture. Just a quick note, I noticed yesterday, and I wish I would have noticed not later yesterday, but it was Administrative Professionals Day yesterday. So I just wanted to do a shout out and say thank you so very much for our administration, for all the hard work and dedication you do to serve this county. It's very much appreciated. I hope you had a great Administrative Professional Day. We will start with 2.1, which is the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions?
I would add 3.3, 5.2.
We'll do that when I go through the next scenario.
Sorry, I
Just
thought
wondering if
that's
there's
what you
anything
asked.
you'd like to add or delete. And if none, so then as per 9.8 of our procedural bylaw, we will go around the room for council to decide what items they would like to debate. What I have recorded so far, and I'll include your 3.3 as I heard it, 2.1, 3.3, 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 5.2, 6.1, 6.2, 7.1, 7.2, 8.1A, 8.2, and 12.1. I can run through those again if you like. Okay, I'll run through those one more
Would
time.
also add 10.1 W.
10.1A,
W.
W. 10.1 W. Okay. Councilor Anderson,
I'd like to add 5.1, please.
5.1.
Madam Chair, can we just acknowledge that there's a spelling mistake in 3.1 and it'll be corrected when we republish the agendas?
Oh, yes.
So
Thank
just-
you.
We don't need a motion. We'll just correct a spelling mistake.
Okay, thank you. Just a typo there. All righty. I can run through these again unless anybody else has anything further they would like to add. All right, we'll run through these. Go ahead.
Sorry, can we discuss 7.5 too?
7.5, yeah,
We might have some extra questions after the presentation.
absolutely.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
and then as we do have that delegation, we should discuss 7.4.
7.4. Okay. Is everybody else? We're okay. Councillor Capitania, good morning. You're okay there? Okay. We will run through these again. 2.1, 3.3, 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 5.1, 5.2, 6.1, 6.2, 7.1, 7.2, 7.4, 7.5, 8.1A, 8.2, 10.1 W, and 12.1. Everybody's good to go? All righty. So we will look at 3.3, page 13 of your agenda package.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended,
Okay. Oh, as amended or as
as
presented?
presented.
As presented, okay. Councillor Cromwell has made a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? No discussion? All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? That would be 9-0. And we move to, of course, our delegations will not start until 10 a.m. So we will move directly to 5.1, which is on page 44 of your agenda package.
3.3.
I'm sorry?
3.3 was added.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought, thank you. I'm jumping ahead, of course, thinking we're only discussing 3.3. Was that not the one that you were referring to that we just did the motion on was 3.3?
No, I was,
The approval of the agenda. Thank you
Correct.
very much. Pardon me. We'll start again here. Approval of the minutes, 3.3. And that's on page 13 of your agenda package. Counselor Hall.
I had added that to request that resolutions CC 25-210 and 25-211 be deemed invalid, given that they did not meet the requirements of the procedural bylaw. 25-210 is in fact identical to the original motion of 25-209 before it was amended by 208. And had anyone wanted to pass the original presentation of that bylaw without the proposed amendments, we should have defeated 25-208. Basically, if there had been no amendments or none had been approved, the motion proposed by Councillor Mins that was defeated is identical to the subsequent motion proposed after lunch by Councillor Cromwell. The applicable section of the procedural bylaw is 13.5, which is that no discussion of a question that has been decided shall be allowed until after a motion for reconsideration has been carried, and such motion requires a 2/3 vote.
Okay, thank you. If I may weigh in, I understand you are saying it didn't follow procedure and that 2509 was the same, I'm sorry, as which?
210,
Same as 208?
same as 210.
It's 210.
So the unamended version, the original motion proposed by Councillor Mins was to, as called by the chair, was identical to 25-210. And then it was subsequently amended, but the original motions, it's the same motion coming to the table twice, and that's not allowed without that vote for reconsideration, which we just need to tackle.
I actually disagree because the 25-209 resolution was a first reading as amended, and 25-10, which failed, and 25-10 was a first reading as presented. So that's very much different. As well as when you refer to 13.5 in the procedural bylaw, that's under the motions section. And when you mentioned, we can discuss it later on, I guess, in there, but what that means is, let me just pull it open. I think actually I have it here. 13.5. So when you mention 13.5, it refers to reconsideration of a question that has been decided. First reading isn't the same as a first question, as the question decided, because a question decided means that something actually has to be formal and complete, and that doesn't happen until third reading. Bylaw section is under the section 12 of the procedural bylaw, and they're separated because motions and bylaws are different. And so I have to disagree that there was an error made and that everything was done according to several legislations such as the MGA. We followed the procedural bylaw. We followed Robert's Rules of Order. We make sure that the municipal affairs basic principles of bylaw is addressed, as well as our CAO's advice given at the meeting at the time. So I would disagree.
I think if you were to check with municipal affairs, once a bylaw has been defeated, it's to quote them, dead, and you need to start from scratch. So it's up to council to decide which way they want to go, but I think that it's undeniable that the two motions in effect and content are identical in what's trying to happen there.
Actually, again, they were very different, and the bylaw isn't dead at first reading. It's a first reading. It would be dead at the second and third reading, which is covered under 12.4 or 5 of our procedural bylaw. It's only when we would rescind a bylaw according to section 12, if second and third reading fails. First reading did not failed. However, according to what I'm understanding, as well through municipal affairs and everything that we've read and the MGA, et cetera, that you can put as many first readings forward as you can during the time allotment that you have, because that is there for discussion. It's not killing a bylaw. That would kill the bylaw at second and third reading. If that failed there, then. Is there further discussion?
Sorry, for clarification, Counselor Hall, were you putting that motion on the table to amend the minutes?
Yes, specifically, I was.
So is the motion on the floor for us to vote on, or is the chair just unilaterally making a decision?
I'm sorry, is the chair what?
Unilaterally making the decision for us?
I wouldn't say unilaterally. No, I'm having the conversation with regards to what the motion was to make the amendment. And the conversation that took place was a discussion.
So is the motion on the floor for us to vote on?
The motion on the floor is to amend as he had recommended. I asked if there was any further discussion.
Thank you, as we are definitely allowed to talk on motions and amendments. They were very different and we are following our procedural bylaw. It is unfortunate that gonna have to word this very carefully. I'm not.
You're okay there? All right. For the purposes of everyone understanding what the motion is, would you please like to read that again?
To approve the minutes as amended by striking out or acknowledging that 25-210 and 25-211 are invalid, given that they did not follow the procedural bylaw.
Tammy, did you get that?
To approve the amendment, the minutes as amended by striking out CC 25-210 and CC 25-211, given that they did not follow the procedural bylaw.
So we will vote on the amendment.
Well, it's a single motion.
It's a single motion. All right, so we're going to vote on an amended minutes for the special meeting as read by Councillor Hall. And if you wouldn't mind passing that on to Tammy for her to have at the end. Pardon?
I don't have it written down, but she certainly is welcome to listen to the recording. I think it's been stated at least twice clearly.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's just much easier if they're passed on in writing. That would be wonderful. So she doesn't have to go back and read that, listen to that recording. All right, is everybody ready for the vote? All those in favor of the amended special meeting minutes? All those in favor?
I
1, 2, 3, 4, and all those opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That motion fails. Would anyone like to put a motion forward with regards to the special county council meeting minutes as presented?
So moved.
Councillor Cromwell? Is there any discussion? I'll just wait for Tammy. Yeah, you comfortable with that? All right, is it all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposed?
eh,
And 3, 6 and 3, that carries. Thank you. All righty. Organized here. Okay, because again, our delegation is not in for another 17 minutes or so. We will move forward to business arising from the minutes, section 5 of your agenda package, 5.1, page 44, North Skeleton Lake Community Association. The recommendation from Councillor Anderson was to put this on the agenda. If you'd like to go ahead.
Thank you. I put this on the agenda because I don't believe that the recommendation is clear direction to administration. I think they're looking for clear direction, and I don't believe that the recommended motion, if we had just adopted it, would do that. So I'd like to make a motion to direct administration to add $10,000 to the 2025 budget for a solar light for the North Skeleton Lake Community Association.
You. Just wait for Tammy to have a, in case we need to have that reread. Is there any discussion at this time, Councillor Chamzig?
I think I'm gonna have to be in opposition of this, is there, we have conversations coming up with our level of service. And we have a lot of day use areas coming up, and at $10,000 a pop, it's pretty hefty on the taxpayers.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to weigh in? Counselor Mins?
Yeah, we moved to help this society or delegation forward in a few different areas and with the way the motion was worded, I totally understand that it was unlegible, a negative motion, I guess, that caught us off. But I do know we have. So we're gonna help them with signage. We're gonna help them with the bathroom elevation idea, and we're gonna help administration is gonna help them try to actually lease a environmental reserve that I cannot see ever actually going forward, but we're gonna help them with that. So there's many boat launches in around Athabasca County. I think we got 20 some boat launches, and so do we put a solar light at every boat launch? Right now, we have a massive amount of maintenance to do at these boat launches, let alone every place else that we have on recreation. And to put another $10,000 item out there that is going to require maintenance, I think we need to clean up some of these areas before we start adding more on. So I can't be in approval of this motion myself. Not until we clean up some other places.
Thank you. Anyone else? Counselor Kapitanic, my goodness, sorry about that. Counselor Kapitanic, go ahead, please.
I just thought that this might be a good opportunity to point out that when in our budget last year, we had given money to youth groups or youth centers, and we've recently are waiting to find out if one has actually shut down and likely will have to return its $5,000 and or not get its $5,000 in the next budget. That equals $10,000, and I think it could go to another group that not just services youth, but all ages of the community. That's all.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Counselor Cromwell.
Thank you. And Councilor Kapitanic made a very valid point. However, we do not have that information yet. And again, coming back, 2021 boat launches, that's $210,000 to be equal and treat everybody fairly. Councilor Chamzik nailed it. We're talking about that at a level of service, and right now, not prepared to move it forward.
Thank you, Counselor Hall.
I think we have to acknowledge that we don't have a uniform level of everything across the entire county, and I don't buy that argument. I mean, we don't have pavement in all subdivisions. We don't have water and sewer in all subdivisions. But I think we should encourage and applaud community groups to take initiative and to do things. And so while I didn't hear the community group ask the county to pay for it, and I'm not excited about us paying for it, I do think that we should be still providing our support for them to install it. They didn't ask us for the money. They asked for permission. So I don't like the idea of paying, but I certainly could get behind us giving them permission to enhance their neighborhood. And we should again continue to encourage community to gather and make their region better.
Thank you. I'll also weigh in on this one as well. As much as I applaud the community group for wanting the betterment, of course, of their area that they frequent quite regularly, we also have to consider what's happening throughout our municipality. And when I consider that, I looked at a couple of different areas. Like you mentioned, we have 21 boat launches, we have 5 beaches, we have 9 campgrounds, we have trails, we have all of this county infrastructure that requires maintenance. And yet we're not able, just due to the current resources that we have, to fulfill that on a requirement, fulfill that requirement to a higher standard. And I'm finding a perfect example that I'm referring to here is in Jackfish Lake. Due to the current resources that we have, the playground and the beach that are there are currently not able to receive regular maintenance. They've fallen into disarray. People are complaining about that type of thing. There used to be rototilling that took place to maintain those sandy areas, and now they're becoming overgrown. The camp shelter, the building is not being maintained to a higher standard as well, just again, due to resources and time that we don't have. And we are looking forward to a level of service. We are looking forward to, facilities and recreation outdoor space plans and that for our existing infrastructure. And without having all of that information first, I am hesitant to continually add infrastructure when we're having a difficult time with what we currently have. So I would, for me, I would have to vote against it today, but definitely leave it in our list of items for our level of service so that we can review this when we review everything and figure out what the future plans are going to be and how we're going to be able to find the resources to maintain them all. So today I am having to made the decision to vote against, but to keep it at the forefront for further discussion when we get to that level of service discussion in our outdoor plans. Go ahead.
Final word, if we're only going around once.
There is a final closing statement for sure, Councillor Kapitanic, for me.
Oh, I would just like to ask for a recorded vote on this after. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. If you'd like to put in a closing statement, for sure.
Thank you. I just want to point out to this one, the community group came to us explaining all that they do for our community and the incredible steps that they've taken to try and improve this area and to make it welcoming for all. And they deemed that there was a safety risk and they wanted a light. And I mean, it's not a crazy request. They asked for something really seemingly simple. And the confusion here is caused by council and this negative motion. And then the Reeve clarifying after the vote that because it was defeated, that meant the light was approved. I've had a few people point that out to me when they've watched the live feed. And so I just think that, well, yes, I understand we can't spend $10,000 everywhere. This is one way that we can find it in our budget. We could address what they deem to be a safety risk at this area that they are using and maintaining and taking care of a lot. And it would just set it straight. And without creating a bunch of hard feelings or anything, I think we could find the $10,000 in our budget.
Thank you. Is there any further comment? That's a closing statement for sure.
I thought you said that was the closing state.
It was a closing statement. Yeah, for sure. I know I would like to comment for sure when you mentioned the Reeve had said, yes, administration has also corrected.
Just as a point, my statement was a closing statement.
Yeah,
I
that's a
expect
closing
the
statement.
vote to be called.
Yeah, point of information. All right, if we're all ready for the vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be Councillor Wallach, Councillor Hall,
Aye.
Councillor Anderson, and Councillor Kapitanic, and all those opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be Councillor Chamzik, Councillor Holland, Councillor Mins, Councillor Gerlach, and Councillor Kwama.
Madam Chair, could I make a motion that the county provide approval to the community group to install a light to be paid for and maintained by the group? I think, we've said we don't want to fund it. I think it's, 21 boat launches are not asking for stuff from us. We've got one community group doing it. And we've got precedent for doing this before when a community group raises, puts the work in. And again, at the risk of repeating myself, I think we owe it to community groups to enable and support when they've taken initiative. And so again, the motion would be to provide approval for the community group to install a light to be paid for and maintained by the group. And that addresses all the maintenance concerns that have come up in the discussion so far.
Thank you. I think for this situation and being that this is something that would require an agreement, because I believe that would be on municipal land, if I'm not mistaken. CAO, would that light be installed on municipal land?
There's only 3 pieces of land down there. There's the road allowance, which is under care and control of the county, environmental reserve, which is owned by the county, and then provincial land. So those are the choices.
Okay, so being that there would have to be an agreement created for that, I would like to table that motion and that discussion for committee of the whole meeting coming up future committee of the whole so that we could consider what an agreement would look like for that. Is that fair? Counselor, there is no debate on a table, but
Can it be stipulated to be the next committee of the whole meeting? I don't want to string this along. Like, I think we should provide some predictability on when it's going to come up for the community group.
understood. I would put that back to CAO to ask how much time that they have to put that together for the next committee of the whole.
Madam Chair, we can have something ready for the next committee of the whole meeting.
Okay. If that's fair, we'll table it to the next committee of the whole. Is a tabling motion? Can't remember, is it 2/3 or simple? So, just give me a second here till I double check. No, it's a simple majority. So simple majority, if we would like to go ahead for that tabling motion for the next committee of the whole meeting. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. On any opposed? 1, 2,
Nay.
3, 6 and 3. Thank you. And we have about 5 minutes before our next delegation is here, and I believe probably 5.2 will take some more discussion that would run into creating our delegation to be late start. So I think what we'll do is take a recess at this time, which is 9:57. So we'll take about a 3 or 4 minute recess, 4-minute recess, and then we'll have our delegation seated. Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome back, everybody. We are at the delegation portion of our agenda, which is 4.1. It's with regards to a fire invoice. And I believe we have Sherman Doroshenko with us here today. Thank you very much for being here. We will start with introductions around the table. We can start here.
Rob Mins, Division 8, Baptist Lake Island Lake area.
Good morning, Joe Gerlach, Division 1, Rochester Perryville area.
Good morning, welcome Gary Cromwell, Division 6, far north up to including Brainat, Wandering River, Blue Jay area. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Camille Walk, Division 9, north of the river.
Kelly Chamzik, Division 7, Grassland, Atmore, Prospita areas.
Good morning, Brian Hall. I live in Division 4.
Good morning, Ashton Anderson. I reside in Division 3, which is the Caslin Boyle area.
Thank you very much. We also have Counselor Kapitaniak. She is from Division 2, which is the Collinton, Minook, Pine Creek area. She will be visiting with us on Zoom here this morning. I am Tracy Holland, Division 5, which is west or east, pardon me, east of Athabasca. So that would be Parkview, Amber Valley, all of those Paxton areas in that area, also the Reed for the county. We also have with us our secretary, recording secretary, Tammy Plord, our CAO, Mr. Bob Beck, our communications manager, Jordan Schenkelberg. Behind you, we have our there we go, Director of Corporate Services, Shadi Ambly, Crystal Wilkinson. I can never remember your title. Director. Thank you very much. And we have our press with us, Cole Brennan. If you'd like to go ahead and introduce yourself and then begin your presentation, that would be great. Thank you. Use your microphone. Thank you so much.
I'm Sherman Doroshenko.
And I'm Rosemary DeLorme.
Thank you.
That's my sister.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here and welcome. Please go ahead.
Okay, on February 8th, I lit a bale on fire and the snow was knee deep. And there was a lot of snow surrounding everything. I checked with the website of the county of Athabasca. I followed the guidelines that I didn't need a permit from October to March 1st. So I thought it was safe. And so I let this old bale on fire and it just smoldered away, and there was like 4 feet of snow all the way around this bale, and no concerns of fire getting away at that time. So February 8th, and then the following weekend, I came out, the bale burnt. There was nothing. There was no smoke, no fire. It was clear. Second week, same thing. Then it came to March 6th when I got a call in the city, I believe it was March 6th, that the farm was on fire. And I didn't realize that that bale would have taken off after 3 weeks, 4 weeks of sitting in the snow. And then as weather was permitting to get drier, more grass was visible, and it followed the fence line and started a fire from that spot, I believe that it was. So I rushed out from the city. I came out and, well, the neighbor notified me. He's the one that called the fire department. I wasn't sure if I should or not, but I says first, you know, if it's gonna go anywhere. He said, I don't think so, but he said he was gonna call the fire department anyways. So the fire department was called. I got there an hour later and basically everything was out. And I spoke with Travis, the fire marshal, I believe it was. Told him I was the owner, or not the owner, but my father owns the property. I'm on the land title also. And my sister is also a part of the family. It's a family farm. The fire wasn't intentionally lit. I thought I was in a safe zone, but the website has some false information on it, but now it's changed since the fire has been been done. So I just don't feel that I was in the wrong. I know accidents happened, but I don't know if it was an accident. I lit a bale, thought it's just gonna burn and disappear, and with the weather, melting snow, and I guess apparently it went into the ground. And then I got this bill from you guys, and I was talking to Travis, and he says it shouldn't be that much. He says we were overkill on the fire trucks and all the equipment here. He says you won't be charged for everything. But he says it'd probably charge you with one truck or two trucks, couple $1,000, or just pay a water bill. So then when I got the bill, and I was shocked. I was shocked about the fire. I was shocked about the bill. My dad's shocked about it. He said he's paying taxes on the farm for many, many years. And I don't know if that's what our tax money goes to or not. I don't know. So we're a small family. We're coping with my parents at the lodge. We're helping them pay for them to stay there. They don't have any money. My sister's helping a lot. I'm helping a lot. And we're just having tough times with our own bills, insurances, house insurances, and all that stuff. So I'd just like some compensation.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Is there anything that you would like to add?
No,
No.
he pretty well covered it all. It's just, like I said, it was an accident. If unforeseen, like no one would expect it. We didn't want it to happen. We just lost the barns. They were old barns. They were like third generation barns. They meant more to me, as I always took pictures of them. They made beautiful pictures, family pictures, everything like that. No, there's nothing there. So
Yeah, we just got previous pictures and you can see all the snow around the building. You wouldn't think
Yeah.
they would burn, but it was just lucky we still have the house.
yeah,
And we still pay the bills at the house, heating, power, and that's not easy for my parents either.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the information you provided for us here today. Is there any questions of council that they have? Go ahead, Councillor Hall.
Thanks for sharing, and coming in to speak with us. I had two questions, I guess, for clarity. I think I heard you say you didn't get a permit? There was
No, I
no
didn't
permit?
get no permit.
Okay.
I
And then
read on the county website. And I read on there that from October to March 1st, the permit was not required.
And so then you said there was false information on the
Yes.
website. Is that what you're referring to, or just can you help us kind of fill that blank
Well,
in?
I,
What false information was there, just so we understand?
Somebody called me from the county and went over. I told them the same story. And I told him I went on the county website and he went on there and he says, cause he was gonna issue me some tickets. So he says, yes, Sherman. He says, this is false information on here. He says, I can't give you tickets. So he dropped the tickets. Of $1,000, I believe it was.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Cromwell.
Thank you. Do you remember who that was you spoke to?
Jason Oli.
Okay, follow up,
Sorry,
follow
go
up.
ahead, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, he said he would take care of everything on his end. And which I believe he did, because I never got no fines or tickets. He says the tickets will be dismissed. Because he says what I read on here too, on the website is wrong. And it wasn't clear. And the fire within the fire protection area, I don't know, are we in the fire protection area or is it, we're out of the fire protection area?
That was actually something I was going to ask you, if you knew you were in the fire protection
Yeah, I
area or
don't know.
not.
I didn't think we were.
Yeah.
But he said we're 5 kilometers from the fire protection area. I don't know, or if we're in it or out of it, I'm not sure.
Go ahead, please.
I can guarantee you that you're in what we call the white zone, which isn't in the fire protection. It's in actually the Athabasca County Fire Protection Area.
Pardon me?
It's in the Athabasca County Fire Protection Area.
Right,
The green zone is to the west of where your mom and dad's place is.
right,
It's to the west of you. It's down 812
right.
on the west side of 812.
So that is the fire protection area on that side?
Yeah.
So we're not in it?
You're in what we call a white zone, which
Right.
is Athabasca County Fire Protection Area.
So what I went by was that the dates on the website, October to March 1st.
If I-
Which, yeah, oh, go ahead. Yeah, which is for the fire protection area, which is the green zone,
Right,
which is on the west side of 812.
right,
In the county side, in the white zone. County fire protection area is a fire permit 12 months of the year.
right.
If you want to light a fire, you need to get a fire permit.
So you need a fire permit all year round
Yeah.
in my area.
Yeah, you betcha.
If I would have known, I would have got it, could have been safe, but still, a fire permit is not gonna prevent a fire,
No.
going, but it would have been nice, But we will now get a fire permit regardless.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, my follow-up that I had on deck, if I may.
Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you. Though I appreciate the communication and the information coming out, if I can direct to administration, just for that point on information on our website that indicated fire permits are not required. I know that's not directly relevant to what we're discussing right now, but a bit of a concern. Was there information incorrect on our website that has been changed after the fact?
It has been changed after.
Yeah, it has.
So I thank you,
Yeah.
and I'm just asking our administration about that, because that is a.
Madam Chair, we'd have to do research. It's the first I've heard of it, so I don't take a screenshot of our website every day, so I'm not aware of it. We'd have to research.
Thank you.
Okay, I realize that and I thank
Right.
you.
Yeah, we can have that conversation upcoming after the delegation. Do you have any questions, any further questions? You're okay? All right. Go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. Through the chair to the delegation. Is the property insured?
The house,
Yeah.
these were old buildings
Okay.
that went, yeah.
The house.
It's,
the
our
house.
big concern was receiving a bill for over, well, almost $5,000.
And follow up? And just as a follow-up, on the aerial imagery, it looks like some of the older buildings may have been on the road allowance and some on the private property. And just to confirm, the buildings that burnt were on private property. They
Yeah.
weren't
Yeah.
Yeah.
on road allowance. Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, those buildings were there since probably 1900s.
Appreciate that. And just so you mentioned you had insurance, did that have your firefighting clause in your insurance?
We never even approached fire insurance on, because I mean, they were old buildings. There was nothing in them. They were barns. There were 3 barns that went.
Thank you. Councillor Gerlach?
Yeah, if the residence is insured and there's a fire in the yard, is there not coverage for other buildings and property? Like not to replace it, but just
I'm not sure.
covering the cost of it.
I would think so, but my sister looks after that part of the, with my parents. And she's basically got the house insured.
I think it's just the house and the contents of the house that's insured,
I'm not
because,
I think there's usually a clause
yeah,
in the contract that, because if a fire is threatening
Yeah,
your house, the fire department comes out, puts out the fire, your insurance covers that because it is threatening the residents. If not intended to, so your insurance may cover a portion of this.
Thank you. Go ahead, please, Councillor.
So just follow up to Councillor Gerlach, have you given that bill to your insurance company and?
No,
spoken to them
no.
about that?
No.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anybody else who has questions of our delegation here today? Well, it looks like council is, doesn't have anything further to ask you about, and I just want to say thank you very much for being here today. I'm sorry for your loss. I know how devastating that can
well,
be.
it's we were talking about cleaning the yard up, but we didn't want to clean it up this way. It was a totally accident. Like I say, it was nothing for 3 weeks. And all of a sudden, because I was there Sunday and I always do a walk around because there's nobody there. Well, we don't want everybody to know that, but there's nobody there. I left Sunday evening. I did a perimeter check. Everything's locked, and I'll always make 2 trips. I went this way and I go back. And I went to that place and there was no sign of nothing. I mean, it was a beautiful day on Sunday. And then as the week progressed, more grass got visible, and then it got a little bit windier, so something got some air underneath the bale, and then that bale started, we did feed cattle at that point, so there was a little bit of manure, so it was probably in the manure underneath the ground, and that's where it started. And I was talking to Travis. He said, if I had any idea of where the fire started, I says, come with me, I'll show you what I did. And sure enough, it was still smoldering where they haven't been put out the main foot, the fire, they're still smoldering.
They had the heat sensor.
Yeah, they had the heat sensor. It was still smoldering there. And my neighbor was doing half a mile west of ours, about a mile, I guess, a little 3/4 mile, was doing their chores, and all of a sudden seen the smoke, and then filmed his Austin, his her husband. He was coming from Fox Creek, and he was by the corner, and he says, "I'll rush over there." And he says, from Moraz's Hill, I don't know if you know Moraz's Hill, Jackson's Hill. He says, yes, there's something going on. He says, I'll step on it and go there. So he's the one, he called me, and I said, no, I'm in the city. I says, I'm just gonna sit down and have supper. So this was a shock. And so I just left everything on the table and jumped in the car, and it took me an hour to get here.
Understood. No, I understand.
I know they said, don't rush, but it took me an hour. Usually takes me an hour and a half, but it took me an hour. But everything was out. It was just smoldering, and I talked to Travis, had a nice conversation with him. And he said, it shouldn't be too bad. He said, I did the overkill on all the trucks here, but he says, you won't be getting charged with all of it. But he says, maybe just a water bill, I do 1 truck. And so and then I got this bill. It was a shock.
Okay.
So
It
what exactly does the county charge for then? Like we've got this $5,000 bill.
Well, there's a breakdown here. So yeah, I guess Athabasca was called and Colleton was called. So one truck would have been plenty, just to make sure the fire didn't get away.
Well, and like you mentioned earlier, fire is unpredictable. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
And so it's better to be very well prepared rather than not. So I'm very happy that we have the volunteers that we do that are able to respond as quickly as they are. So that's
Yes,
amazing.
they're to serve and protect,
That's right.
Exactly. That's what I thought. The fire department is there, police department. I guess there was police there was ambulance there was fire trucks, and it was just like 4th of July or Christmas time, I guess. And when I came there, they were sitting at the road and sitting there, sitting at my cabin, and then, it was all over the place. And my neighbor got actually kicked out of the yard. Get out of here, we need room, But I says, well, when I come there, they're not gonna tell me to get out, but I drove to the house and there was no issues whatsoever. I walked right up to it, and one of the guys said, go talk to Travis. He's standing over there by the pump house. I went over there, and it was a good old time,
Yeah.
Not a good old time, but a sad time.
Absolutely. Sad time. I'm so glad they were able to save your house. That's an amazing feat in its own, especially in the
So-
rural community. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That the response that they did provide was, really did a lot. So I'm glad that happened. And again, I'm very sorry for your loss. It is devastating, and I know wholeheartedly how that is. I think at this time though, if council doesn't have any other comments or concerns, this will be coming back So council will have an opportunity to have further discussion later in the day. I believe it's 7.4 of our agenda. You're welcome to stay if you like. It will be quite a bit later on in the day. And we also have live streaming happening. It's also recorded. So you are able to go onto YouTube and have a look at that conversation if you choose not to stay today.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, we're gonna head back to the parents and probably to the farm, and then I gotta get back to work. I lost a day's wages here. I'm busy like heck.
Okay, well, we sure appreciate you being here today
Okay,
and,
well-
giving us this information that you have and,
Thank
wish you well.
for
and
listening
take good
to
care.
us. So
You-
you,
you-
you will get back to us though?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like I said,
absolutely.
you wouldn't want my dad here.
No.
Well, I'm so glad that you're
Cause he'd
able to.
give you 1,001 excuses.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard on him. I know he wanted to clean up the yard, but not in this way.
Yeah.
Um,
And the sentimental value.
it's, and like me and my sister talked, no, we're gonna leave it, just let it collapse, you know, as we, you know, she's got thousands and thousands of pictures.
Oh,
You know,
they, that's the only thing, like, we were there on the weekend for Easter and the big black clouds were in and I'm just like, but my barns aren't there to take pictures with the clouds, like, it's just, it's different. But yeah,
And it's just lucky there was no animals in
Yeah.
there and, you know,
there was nothing of value in there. It's just more of the sentimental
yeah.
value.
And that Saturday I came out and I cleaned everything up by hand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It is, the cleanup's huge, absolutely.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, thank you again for being here and we wish you safe travels and, administration will be back in touch.
Okay,
Okay,
thank
thank you
you.
so
Okay,
very
thank you.
much.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Great,
Thank you.
take care.
You too.
Folks, we have another delegation, at 10:30 and I believe that's 9 minutes from now. Do we want to try and tackle the next item? Or would you like to take a recess? Recess? Yeah. I think we'll go for a recess then, folks. 8 minutes, please. We'll reconvene at 10:30 for our next delegation. Thank you so much. Welcome back, everybody. We are at our delegation 4.2, which is the Matrix Group LLP, the audited financial statements. We have Jeff Alliston here with us here today. I know you know everybody.
Yeah.
I don't think we necessarily
familiar.
need to go through introductions again here today. Right,
Nope,
we can
nope,
forego
should be
that.
good, yeah.
You're good to go. Alrighty, so I will turn the floor over to you. Thank you again for being here.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks again. Thanks for having me here today. Go over the 2024 financial statements for Athabasca County. So usually to begin these presentations, I like to give a bit of an overview of an audit. So why we have an audit and the importance of it, and really it's to enhance the degree of confidence of the intended users of these financial statements. So these main users being yourselves as counselors, ratepayers, the municipal affairs, province of Alberta. So those organizations with a vested interest in the financial performance of the county. This is achieved by us as auditors expressing an opinion. So we're given an opinion that the financial statements are free from a material misstatements. So what that means is, as auditors, we're seeking reasonable assurance. So it's a high level of assurance, but it's not absolute, as we're not auditing every transaction that happened during the year. Also, as auditors, we exercise professional judgment, maintain professional skepticism, so questioning mind, stay alert to conditions which may indicate possible misstatement. So areas such as cutoff, want to make sure that transactions have been recorded in the correct fiscal period. Revenue recognition, making sure revenue is being recognized when services or performance obligations have been met, and as well as collectability of accounts receivables. So are your receivables deemed to be collectible subsequent to your end? And then also a critical assessment of audit evidence. So has any evidence been altered? When it comes to your financial statements on the auditor's report on page 3 and 4, we give our opinion at the top that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. Those are the same accounting standards that all government or entities report under across Canada. When it comes to the basis for opinion, in accordance with Canadian generally accepted auditing standards, and that the responsibility of management and those charged with governance. So just to note there that those governance or council is responsible for the oversight of the financial reporting of the county. And then also auditor's responsibility for the audit, then the last part, which in turn summarizes our objective, which is to obtain reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free from material misstatement. This next slide is a snapshot of where the county was at financially as at December 31, 2024. So you see your cash and temporary investment position was up to about 42.6 million. So about a $7 million increase year over year. So the county had generated positive cash flows from its operations, about 11.2 million, and then spent about 4.2 million on capital asset additions. So kind of the result of the change in the cash. When it comes to taxes and grants in place of taxes, so here you'll see your current tax position was up to about 820. You saw an increase in your arrears taxes up to 1.6. So that contains various oil and gas companies that are in the arrears. This is starting to become more of a trend definitely in the counties near you and around you too, with the arrears starting to creep up again as it did a few years ago. So just something to be mindful of. You do have an allowance for doubtful accounts there of 1.6 million to kind of offset the arrears amounts or the linear amounts too, but just to make sure, just be mindful of that when you're doing your taxes, that obviously you're taxing these, based on your assessment and the tax rolls within the county, but you might not be collecting cash, or just mindful that maybe the cash won't be coming in. So just something to watch out going forward there. So I left you with a total accounts receivable here, or taxes, about 825,000 at year end. Other receivables, provincial and federal governments receivables of 5.3 million. You got receivables from other governments. So in relation to the multiplex, town, Alberta Transportation, regional waste. So there's a bunch in there for that. Goods and services tax of 577,000 still to be collected. So left you guys about 7 million versus 8.6 in the prior year. Prior year just had more grants receivable in relation to MSI Capital. So that's why you're seeing the decrease there in the provincial and federal receivables. Back to the statement of financial position. Your final asset here is land held for resale. So there were no land sales in the year. So that left you with an asset position about 50 million, or or about about a $5 million increase year over year. When it comes to liabilities, so what the county still owed subsequent to year end, accounts payable and accrued liabilities of 3.7 million, mainly vendor trade payables, so that was down year over year, so just timing there. Deferred revenue of 3.3 million. So when it comes to deferred revenue, so these are grants or amounts that you've received to date, still to be allocated to projects going forward. So you have your 2024 allocations when it comes to Canada Community Building Fund, local government fiscal framework, as well as your ACP funding for 600,000. You had spent or recognized revenue in relation to bridge construction and culvert replacements, motor graders replacement, and as well as various bridge work when it comes to the STIP funding at the bottom there. So it left you with about 3.3 million still to be recognized in future years. Other liabilities include your employee benefit obligations. So that's vacation and sick time accruals in relation to staffing there. So that's down to 495 from 713 in the prior year. When it comes to your asset retirement obligations here, so that's at 7.9 million. So again, this was kind of the adoption last year of this framework. So it's based on a present value technique. So in other words, it's discounted at a rate. Expectation in the future is that these assets will settle between the year 2025 and 2045. So as you move closer to retirement of these assets, you'll see that liability increase. And then as they retire, those funds will be there to support the retirement of those assets. That's kind of the idea behind the asset retirement obligations. And then contaminated sites, which is a nuisance ground near Elscott, Alberta there. So that's for 272. And then the next slide here is just kind of in relation to your debt limits. So you don't have any debt, but just like to indicate, what your debt limits would be under the MGA. So it is calculated at 1.5 times your operating revenue, so about 59 million. And then debt servicing is 0.25 times your operating revenue. So how much interest and principal you can be paying each year. So about 9.8 million. So again, you have no debt, but just to let you know what your debt limits would be or are. Back to liabilities then. So you have about 15.7 million in liabilities. So if you take your assets, which is 50 million less your liabilities, you end up with a net financial asset position of just under 35 million. So what that means, if you take your cash, collect your receivables, pay off all your obligations, the county would still be left with $35 million at year end. So definitely a healthy financial position there. So liabilities were down 3 million. Your net financial asset position was 8.6. When it comes to your non-financial assets, your tangible capital assets, there's kind of a breakdown year over year. I apologize for the engineered structure numbers. Those are not correct. The opening balance should be 47 million, which is the net book value from prior year. The additions are all correct up to 6.8 million. You have various bridge and culvert work there and engineered structures, a few graders that were purchased in machinery equipment. And then in relation to bridge work and work in progress, that was then transferred up to engineered structures as well. The amortization should be about 3.2 million, not 141. And then the total should be 5.3 million when it comes to amortization there. So your amortization represents the usage of your asset. So if you have an asset that lasts 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, you take a percentage of that, it gets reflected in your amortization expense. So currently you got 6.8 million additions, 5.3 million amortization. So you've added to the net book value of your assets year over year. So that's kind of showing you an increase there, even though my numbers are wrong. When it comes to back to the statement of financial position, inventory for consumption, it comes to gravel, you got 3.2 million there. The rest remains parts and chemicals, about 740,000. That left you with total non-financial assets about 86 million versus 85.7 in the prior year. So if you take your net financial asset position plus your non-financial asset position, you end up with an accumulated surplus of just under 121 million. So that's broken out into a few categories. So you have your unrestricted surplus, which was up 5.4 million to 26.2. Your restricted reserves, which was up another about 5 million, up to about 21 from 16. And then your equity and tangible capital assets, which decreased about 1.4 million for a net change year over year of 8.9. So how you can look at that is that the surplus amounts kind of represent the cash component of your equity, whereas the other the tangible capital assets represent that, represent your tangible capital assets with a non-cash component. So the change really to the surpluses was about 10.3 million, whereas the change in your capital assets was down 1.4. So that factors in, you know, the amortization expense as well as the additions and then any grant funding applied. So your cash position of your accumulated surplus increased 10.3, and then your equity or tangible capital asset portion decreased 1.4. So when you look at your annual surplus, which would be about 8.9 million, more of that was actually attributed to your surpluses than your capital assets. Because sometimes you see municipalities will have a higher annual surplus, but really it's all tied into government you know, grants in that case, whereas yours is more from the operations there. So when you look at your the next slide here, your operating revenue on your statement of operations, you'll see total revenues here about 39.3 million. So you'll see your net municipal property taxes up to 30.5 from 28.4, as you saw a tax rate increase as well as assessment increase rates year over year. So net change is 7.3%. User fees and sales of goods was up to 3.3 from 2.6. You saw additional fire truck funds that were received as well as multiplex revenue increase in there. So that's where the user fee change is. When it comes to government transfers for operating, so that was down year over year. Last year you had disaster recovery funding kind of in there. So that's why that's kind of down. Investment income was up to 2 million. You had more cash and temporary investments on hand this year. So you saw a bump there in your investments. And then leaving you with, again, 29.3 million versus 36. The change in the other is in relation to multiplex revenue. So I think it was just a different reallocation within their financial statements from other up to user fees. That's kind of why you're seeing the change there when it comes to their revenue. This is kind of just a pie chart of the county's revenues. So your net municipal property tax make up 78%, user fees 9%, and government transfer 6%. Comparison to prior year, pretty similar, is about 77 for taxes, 7 for user fees, and 7 for grants. When it comes to your expenses by function, so which department items were spent in, transportation being up to 18 million from 16. You saw additional gravel expenses in the year for repair work there, as well as salaries, wages, and benefits. When it comes to general administration, same items there in relation to wages and salaries. When it comes to recreational services, that was up. You had payments to the Village of Boyle there. There was 2 in this year. You'll see that later on in our audit findings report in relation to that. So we have 2023 and 2024 in there. And then protective services, you saw additional fire expenses as well as wages and the increase in that department. So total expenses were up to 36 from 31, so about a $5 million change, and then down from what you had budgeted for 3 million, about 8.4% change there. So this bar graph here kind of shows you where your budget was at in relation to your actual. So you can see it's either at or above in all the categories except for the recreational services, where we saw the additional Village of Boyle payments really coming in there to get that one over the budgeted amount. When it comes to expenses by object, you'll see your salaries and wages and benefits were up to about 12.3 from 10.4, so additional FTE in the year. Contract and general services were at 9.9. Materials, goods, and supplies, you saw additional gravel costs there, hauling, so up to 5.9 from 4.4. Everything else is pretty similar. Transfers for local governments in relation to payments to the Village of Boyle, so up to 36 from 31. And these are kind of the object codes or categories that the funding or your expenses were incurred. So if you take your total operating revenues less your operating expenses, you end up with an operating surplus of just over 3 million. You'll see government transfer capital of 2.9. So this is in relation to your MSI, STIP funding, and Canada Community Building funding that was used for tangible capital asset projects in the year. You have a recovery on settlement of environmental liabilities. So this is a couple things. One is in relation to the contaminated sites recovery. So it's about a $2.3 million there. As in Alberta Environment accepted your proposal to change what was going on. So that resulted in less cost for you to clean that up. So that resulted in a recovery of those estimated expenses previously based on the change there. So new information. And then as well, there was a $480,000 recovery in relation to a reclamation of a gravel pit in Bueller. So that that caused a recovery of costs there as additional liabilities were set up based on estimates or information previously given for those. So that's where that additional recovery comes in, which then results in an annual surplus of about 8.9 million after you add in other income plus your operating surplus of 3 million for about 8.9 there. There's also a restatement to the accumulated surplus in relation to grant fundings. There was various grant programs. Once the reporting was caught up in 2024 for allocation of costs between where those grants would go, that changed. So that resulted in a restatement there of 581,000 and 414,000 previously to 2023. So in turn, you end the year with an annual surplus of 8.9 versus 10.1 the prior year. Your net financial asset position was up to about 35 million from 26. We have an audit finance report as well, but in summary to that, we just discuss our restatement for the government transfers, other issues that we would have noted while performing our work. I just want to thank the team at the county for helping us to get our audit done. And I guess if anybody has any questions on this part of the report, I can definitely go through them. Answer.
Thank you
Yep.
very much. That's a lot of information.
Yeah.
And I'm quite sure there's questions. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Hall, and then Councillor Anderson, please.
Hi, Jeff. I think just 3 questions. So for clarity, you talked about the $2.3 million recovery from the Alberta Environment. That's, can you clarify for us, that's a non-cash transaction? So that does not reflect cash position. That's just where we had to state a potential liability and we were able to back that out. Is that the case?
Yeah, so previously we had a liability that would have been estimated higher than it should have been. So when the actual costs came through or the change the change in what was allowed caused that change.
Okay, because what I want to make sure that we're clear on with our ratepayers is that's not $2.3 million worth of new cash. That's
Yeah,
a paper
that's just-
transaction that does not reflect.
Yeah, it just doesn't have to go
yeah.
out anymore. Yeah, correct.
So we don't run to the paper and say we've got an $8 million surplus and it's raining money at the county.
No.
The annual surplus, it is disclosed, that 3.085 million. Can you just help clarify for me, does that include funds that were specifically budgeted into reserves? Because I think the reserve budgeting wouldn't necessarily show up as an expense, but when council budgets 400 grand for savings for retiring a future liability or 450 for fire trucks, that actually has to come out of a positive surplus, right? So are
Yeah.
those numbers excluded?
Yeah, there are no reserve transfers in your expenses. Yeah.
Okay, so then even though it shows $3 million, a lot of that has been by design planned and allocated by council.
Mhm.
And then the last thing, and I apologize if I missed this in the financials somewhere. I couldn't find it and was hoping you could help identify where in the statements we lay out for our council and ratepayers the dedicated reserves that council has established for various things, including gravel pit, post-closure reclamations, emergency services, evergreening, and things of that nature.
Yeah, so on your financial statements on page 23, so note 15, those would have your accumulated surplus. So your unrestricted, restricted capital operating reserves are located on that note.
So which one reflects the gravel pit reclamation? I believe council seeded that with $1 million last year.
If I may, just so that we're all on the same page, are you?
Oh, sorry,
referring
that's
to
page 184 of the agenda,
Thank you.
because the financial statements are later in the. I can't quite remember the number. Somebody else at the table might. It was either $1 million or $1.5 million. We seeded the gravel pit post-closure reclamation fund with, and then made a plan to, well, it looks like that we planned for $2 million to go into that, to pay that off over 15 years with annual installments. So we had the cash on hand when the rule makers in Edmonton told us we had to wipe it out.
As for that, as for where the 2 million would be, I'd have to either defer that to management or take a look myself. I don't necessarily see,
So I didn't miss it.
sorry, I don't, yeah, no, I don't see category for gravel pit reclamation on your reserve, so I'll have to look into that after the meeting, but or
I
unless
get, you know,
management
there's a, you know, a mountain of, you know, a 4-inch binder worth of rules that the accountants have to follow, but to me, the financial statements also have to have some kind of usefulness to the folks that are going to read them. And council's done a lot of good work and a lot of forward thinking. And to me, it matters that we're able to communicate that
Mhm.
these things exist for us and we've made plans to work through them and to cover them. So thank you for those responses, Jim.
Madam Chair, I'm happy to weigh in on that. When we looked at our reserves, the titles and purposes, as Director Ramley is drafting a new policy for you to review in the next 60 to 90 days, we noticed some titles and purposes of, well, actually, we couldn't figure out the purposes. So the last time this was looked at extensively, we suspect it made sense at that time. And we believe you probably need to revise it to reflect current issues. And for example, we're not sure what amortization fund is because amortization is not supposed to be a cash item, but so we've noticed some things, but we did want to come back to council and perhaps retitle and repurpose your reserves.
Appreciate that. Thank you. You're good? All right, Councilor Anderson, please go ahead.
Thank you. You mentioned the restatement a few times during your presentation, 2023 restated. Would it be possible to kind of walk us through the restatement done and the different items that touched and why they were restated? I just want to make sure we have a good
Yeah.
understanding. of that.
So on the, I guess a few more pages down, the financial statement, note 25 would be the restatement note here. So when the grant reporting kind of got caught up, there were changes in relation to MSI, Canada Community Building Fund, in relation to projects that were either previously designated or added in.
Sorry, we're just trying to determine page numbers.
What page for you guys? Yeah, I don't
Where
have
we're
your
at.
package
Sorry.
in front of you.
Sorry, I
So-
should have stated,
I'll just say note 25.
page
So-
189 of the agenda package.
Thank you. If I just made, so that's page 189 of the agenda package, it would be number 25 restatement in those notes.
Yeah. So in turn here, so the county recognized revenue for four graders in 2023 under MSI. Under the funding stipulations, the county is only approved for the purchase of 3 graders. So revenue in that year was overstated by 678,000 in relation to that. The county incurred costs for Aspen Ridge and South Athabasca aggregate chip seal in 2021. Under the Canada Community Building Fund, the county is entitled to a maximum funding of 414,000 for this project. So no amount was recognized for this project, and as such, revenue was understated in 2021. So when you go back and do your reporting and then you kind of change the project, right? So that's kind of getting picked up then in the correct year. The county recognized revenue for the Richards Road construction project in 2023 under the Canada Community Building Fund. Upon review of the statement of funding expenditures submitted for 2022, the maximum funding allowed for this project was fully expensed as of 22. So any costs incurred afterwards must be funded through other funding. So revenue was recognized for costs incurred in 2023 resulted in overstatement. So you had recognized funding in 2023 that you shouldn't have based on what was approved. And then the last one is just in relation to the significant delays in the submission. So just kind of outlining that and kind of resulted in an overstatement of receivables and an understatement of deferred and just kind of changing that up. So again, what the project costs were allocated to kind of changed when they were submitted.
Thank you. I greatly
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you. Jordan, I don't see Councillor Capitani. Okay, thank you. I just wasn't sure if she may have questions waiting and I couldn't see her, so I appreciate that. Does anyone
Sorry.
else have?
I'm here, I'm listening. I just thought I'd listen without the camera.
Thank you so much. You have any comments or questions you'd like to pose?
Thank you. Not at this time. I feel that the questions I had have been answered. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Just didn't want to miss you. Does anybody else have any questions or comments that they'd like to discuss? No, I do have one question.
Hmm.
Well, first of all, thank you very much again. This is a huge job and as we all know, it's taxing on everybody. So I appreciate that. You mentioned on one of your slides, the net book value of tangible capital assets. There were some corrections. Are we able to have a corrected slide forwarded to us?
Yeah, I can update that.
That would be
Yep.
great. That would be fantastic so that we have all that information. So we're there. And I think if I'm not mistaken, nobody else has any questions. Which then would move us on to 4.3, which is the closed presentation for the audit findings, which is under section 24, section 1 of advice from officials. And so if I may obtain a motion, Councillor Cromwell would like to put a motion forward that we enter closed session. If everybody's ready for that, all those in favor? No opposed, I don't believe. So we are officially enclosed. Thank you so much.